Hi, I'm Aiden Taylor, and in today's episode, I'm going to be creating a vintage-inspired gingerbread house. Before we get on with today's video, I just want to take a minute and say thank you all so much for all of the love on my videos lately. You guys have really loved these tutorials and we're having a blast making them, so I am excited to continue making many more fun and whimsical characters. I am so excited to see all of your Aiden Taylor inspired crafts that you have been sharing with me, and I'm honestly just so thrilled that my work is able to inspire all of you. We just hit 18,000 subscribers and we are quickly approaching 19, and I am honestly just absolutely shocked. I can't believe how fast these videos have taken off, and I am honestly just over the moon that you guys like my work. Today, I'm going to be creating a vintage-inspired gingerbread house. Now, I'll throw up on the screen here the concept art that I created for this character. I got the idea to create a character like this from watching some of Disney's Silly Symphonies, and I absolutely love the 1930s style of animation, and I have been really wanting to try and create a character that looks like it's straight out of a 1930s cartoon. I originally planned to try and make this out of real gingerbread, but then I quickly realized that it was going to be quite a time-consuming process, and I want to be able to save this and not have to throw it away after Christmas. So I will be using celluclay to sculpt this gingerbread house rather than having it be edible. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. To begin, I'm going to be creating the base for this gingerbread house out of an old cardboard box that I've recycled. And I'm going to start by cutting the top off of the box, leaving a point on the front and back side to act as our roof line. Since I want this character to have an almost top-heavy, squash and stretch, larger-than-life effect, I want the top of the house to sort of curve outward. So I'm going to cut right along the seam of the cardboard box, and I'm going to kind of bend the sides out so that it has that curve to it. Next, I'm going to cut 2 rectangles of cardboard, and I'm going to glue these on for the roof panels. Now that I've got the basic shape that I like, I'm going to use some masking tape to cover any open gaps. I'm then going to mix up a batch of celluclay, and I'm going to coat the entire cardboard house with celluclay. Now I'm doing this in kind of a thin layer so that the cardboard doesn't get too saturated because I don't want it to collapse. But also, if you apply celluclay too thick, it won't dry properly, so always be careful of that. Once that layer of celluclay was completely dried, I then cut a squiggly rectangle out of cardboard, and this is going to be a base for my house to sit on. And I applied this to the bottom of the house with some more hot glue. I then mixed up another batch of celluclay, and I'm going to use this to sculpt up the snow or icing around the base of the house. Next, I'm going to mix up a batch of celluclay that has a little bit more water in it than I normally would. I decided to try something I've never done before and pipe celluclay directly onto the house with a piping bag. And this was actually quite successful, although you can't get super detailed with it, but since I'm going for a more cartoony look, I think it's going to be perfect. Once my clay's mixed, I then transferred it into my piping bag and cut the tip off, and I'm going to use this to pipe any icing details I want onto the house. Now that I'm happy with the base of the house and all of the frosting looks nice and smooth, it's time to start sculpting the face. Like I mentioned at the beginning of my video, I decided to step out of my comfort zone just a little bit and try and give this face more of a 1930s cartoon style rather than my traditional vintage Christmas style. And I'm honestly super happy with how this face turned out. I think this is one of my favorite characters to date, and I can't wait to dabble in this style more in the future. Once the face was finished, I then went in and added a trim around the front door and around the windows on the side. Now that the sculpt is completely finished, I gave the entire thing a generous coat of gesso, and it's time to start painting. For the paint job, I'm going to begin painting any of the cookie parts with a dark chocolate brown color. I'm then going to paint any of the icing or snow or anything that's going to be white with a light, almost caramel brown color. Once both of the base coats were dry, I'm then going to start dry brushing with a few different colors, starting with what I would call a gingerbread brown color, and I'm going to dry brush this on any of the areas that we applied the dark brown, focusing it more on the center of the area and leaving the edges a little bit darker. Now that I'm happy with how the cookie looks, I'm going to start dry brushing with an off-white color, and I'm just going to apply this to the frosting, just very gently hitting the top of it, and I'm going to do this in multiple layers until I build it up to a nice white color, trying to leave a little bit of that brown showing through, just so it looks a little bit antique. Now that the base paint job is done, I'm going to go in with some smaller brushes and a variety of different colors, and I'm going to begin adding all of the details to the face and anywhere else that needs a little bit of touching up around the house. Now that the paint job is completely done and I'm super happy with how it looks, I'm going to start adding some clear glitter to the frosting and the face. Using just a little bit of watered down craft glue, I'm going to brush this on in a very thin layer, and then I'm going to sprinkle it with my clear glitter and let that dry completely before I brush away the excess. Now that the house is completely glittered, it's time for the reveal. I am honestly so happy with how this character turned out. I think that this is one of my all-time favorite characters I've ever made, honestly. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, as well as any other ideas or characters that you'd like to see me create in a future video. I really hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. If you did, be sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so that you don't miss out on when I upload. You can also go and follow me over on Instagram, where I post every time I upload a new episode. If you decide to try out any of these projects, I would love to see your creations, and you can share those over on Instagram as well. Thank you all so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again. Happy holidays!